In the days following the murder of Amy Allwine, cops in Cottage Grove, Minnesota quickly realized they don't need to look far to find a suspect.
As evidence started coming in, there was a lot of information that we found out about Steve that started to focus our attention strictly at Steve.
Ironically, much of that evidence was found on the IT specialist's own computers.
You seized more than 60 pieces of electronics.
Yep. Multiple cell phones, computers, hard drives, thumb drives, all sorts of electronic.
Prosecutor Fred Fink says Stephen Allwine lied to cops during his interrogation when he said he only had one affair. Remember this?
A couple of years ago, I had a short one with somebody.
Have there been any romantic relationships?
You found at least 3 other affairs.
Yes.
Despite the pastor's role as a couples counselor at his church, prosecutors say Stephen Allwine spent lots of time searching for women online and not just on any ordinary dating website.
Stephen Allwine went on a website called Ashley Madison, and he began communicating with women. This continued throughout the time that Amy Allwine was in fact killed.
Ashley Madison is designed specifically for married people looking to have an affair. Detectives say Stephen had affairs with at least 2 women he met on the site.
Did he meet them on multiple occasions?
The one female, yes, he had a significant relationship with her over the course of many months. They took trips together.
They also found a woman Stephen met on Backpage.com who he paid for sex.
Was it alarming to you when you found out this man of God, this Christian marriage counselor, was having so many affairs?
It certainly speaks to his character, I think, and possibly that speaks to a little motivation as well for the murder.
Stephen himself told cops his church doesn't condone divorce.
We believe that marriage is a covenant not just between the man and the woman, but with God as well. And so, unless you knowingly break that covenant, then we don't divorce.
Instead of divorce, Sergeant Randy McAllister believes Stephen chose murder as a way out of their marriage.
I think it's safe to say he was nationally known within the denomination, maybe internationally known, so he was kind of a big deal in the church too, and we kind of think that maybe he didn't want to lose that standing because that was really important to him.
Cops were quickly closing in on Stephen Allwine when they suddenly stumbled upon their biggest break in the case yet.
The Bitcoin wallet address that was found in December was key.
Prosecutors say a 34-digit code found on Stephen Allwine's computer matches a Bitcoin code and proves that he is Dog Day God, the person who tried to hire a hitman on the dark web to kill Amy Allwine. A computer forensics expert says the code was first typed in the Notes app on Stephen's iPhone.
20 seconds after that note was created on Stephen Allwine's password-protected iPhone, it was posted by Dog Day God on the Besa Mafia website. The message said, "Help, I posted the wrong Bitcoin code. This is the one that I meant to use."
Less than a minute later, the code was deleted from Stephen's iPhone, but it was too late. It had already been uploaded to his computer through the cloud.
Apparently, when you sync iTunes between your computer and your phone, the cloud just sucks everything out of your phone.
What Stephen should have known as an IT specialist.
Delete does not always mean delete.
Investigators soon find evidence they say proves Stephen was also behind the emails to his wife, demanding she commit suicide.
The day before Amy got the first email from so-called Jane threatening her, the defendant had been on his computer and had accessed Roderos.com and received the various addresses of Amy's relatives.
The addresses not only appear in the email, the sender even admits to using the Roderos website to find them.
Do you think he had any idea you were finding all of this against him?
I don't think so. I think Stephen thinks he's smarter than most people.
Detectives then discover what they believe was the first attempt to kill Amy Allwine that day, one that nearly went unnoticed.
We had found an internet posting, just doing an open source search from this Dog Day God looking for a drug called scopolamine.
Detective Landkamer says when taken in large doses, the drug causes a person to hallucinate and become disoriented.
Down in Colombia, it's pretty prevalent as a date rape drug.
A test for the drug in Amy's system turned up an obscene amount.
It was about 45 times the normal therapeutic
45
level.
times the normal?
Yeah, somewhere around there based on her blood levels, and they found huge amounts of scopolamine in her stomach.
Detectives allege Stephen put the drug in his wife's lunch the day she was murdered.
Which would explain the symptoms she was experiencing, because those symptoms match scopolamine poisoning.
Detective Landkamer believes Stephen was hoping the drug would kill his wife.
And if she would have died of poisoning, that would have been the way out?
I think so. It's such an obscure drug that it's not normal to test for that.
When the poisoning didn't work, cops allege he shot her in the head instead, staging the scene as a suicide and allowing his son to find his mom's body.
What kind of father allows something like this to happen?
That's certainly the question that all of us asked.
It's a disgusting move. It really is.
2 months after his wife's murder, Stephen Allwine was arrested and charged with second-degree murder.
Where was he arrested?
We waited till he dropped his son off at school, and we conducted a traffic stop.
And do you think he was surprised?
He didn't show it.
Stephen made bail and returned home. His neighbors were terrified.
And the police kept telling me, you don't have to worry about anything. He's not going to go after anybody. He just hated his wife.
2 months later, Stephen Allwine was back behind bars after being indicted on 1 count of first-degree premeditated murder. He remained there until his trial in January. Kevin DeVore was Stephen's attorney.
Were you confident going into this trial?
I was confident, but I've tried enough cases to know that I had some obstacles.
His biggest obstacle was the Bitcoin code found on Stephen Allwine's computer, the same code that was used to hire a hitman to kill Amy.
How did you explain that?
Well, there was evidence that the Allwine's computer system had been compromised. I would say hacked would be the right word for it.
Kevin DeVore argued there was no physical proof that Stephen himself actually typed that code into his iPhone.
It's all proof by way of computer records. And so it was the opinion of the forensic scientists that, as their expert testified in the trial, any phone could be labeled S. Allwine iPhone.
But jurors didn't buy the explanation. After just 8 hours of deliberations, they found Stephen Allwine guilty of murdering his wife.
What's one of the biggest mistakes Stephen made in all of this?
He thought with his internet knowledge and his smarts that he was covering all his tracks. He didn't.
2 days after the verdict was handed down, Stephen was sentenced to life in prison and addressed the court for the first time.
There was no remorse for his actions. He stated that he loved his wife.
He also said his wife's killer is still out there.
You do not believe an unknown intruder entered that house and killed Amy?
Not as much as a green Martian came down from Saturn and did it. Absolutely not.
A family life shattered. Before being led away in handcuffs, the preacher turned convicted killer promised to continue spreading his faith.
He said that he has changed lives while being held at our local jail, and that as he was processed into prison, he would be bringing his Bible and continuing his ministry.
At Stephen's sentencing, Amy's sister read a statement from his 9-year-old son that said, quote, "My mom was a good mom. I will always love her and remember her." He's currently living with family members. Allwine has until early June to decide if he'll appeal his conviction. I'm Chris Hansen. If you like this story, make sure you tune in every day to Crime Watch Daily. You can find where the show airs in your city at crimewatchdaily.com. Watch it live or record it on your DVR and watch it at night. And to all those criminals out there, remember, we are watching.